So I'm going to call the meeting to order. So adoption of the agenda. Is there a mover?
I move we adopt.
Moved by Councillor Hill,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Contrary, nay.
Aye.
Motion carried. 2B, declaration of conflict of interest. Any items on the agenda that could place you in a conflict? Hearing none, we'll go to 3, presentations. We have none tonight. 4, adoption of the minutes. 4.1, May 20th, 2020, regular council meeting. Any errors or omissions?
I move we adopt the minutes.
Moved by Councillor Hill,
I'll second that.
seconded by Councillor Tebow. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Contrary, nay. Motion carried. 4.2, June 3rd, 2020, council and committee meeting. Any errors or omissions?
I'll move.
Moved by Councillor LeBlanc,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councillor Hill. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Contrary, nay. Motion carried. 5, business arising from the previous council minutes. 5.1, update boat debris coming over the wall.
Yes, just for council's information, the boat that was being dismantled at Comoville Wharf has basically been cleaned up and removed from the site. There's still some pieces of metal there that I'm told, in speaking to the owners and DFO, that will be removed shortly as well. They just hadn't gotten around to it, but their intention is to remove that from the site also. In speaking to DFO, they are watching the case as well. We did provide them with photos, which they greatly appreciated. So they have been in contact with the owner, and they will be checking up to ensure that the remaining debris that's on the wharf and next to the wharf is removed. So it seems like the problem it has been dealt with for the most part.
Any questions?
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question for Stefan. You had mentioned possibly looking into the ownership of that wharf, maybe to prevent future issues like that. Is there any update on that, or?
No updates so far. Last I heard, the wharf was owned by a community group, but that group is now defunct essentially. So the ownership of the wharf and the ability to monitor which boats tie up at the wharf or come to the wharf is still under question. Really, right now, no one's is playing that oversight role. So it's difficult to manage. Right now, there's nothing preventing someone from tying up a boat to that wharf to dismantle it.
Okay.
So Mr. Warden, I have a bit, I can add maybe a bit on that too.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been going almost every day since last week. I was again this afternoon. There's not much left on off the wharf, like on the what I call the beach. It's almost all gone, but I don't know if they're supposed to leave the wharf the way it was when they started. There's still some, like, maybe Stefan, if you speak to the owner again, that they could maybe go with a shovel. Maybe it's asking a bit too much, but because Hector Leblanc had done a good job in cleaning up the other mess. So right now there's still like a lot of, like, not a lot, some like wood and like a small debris and stuff. So if they wouldn't mind, that they could go like with a shovel and just shovel it either in a half-ton truck or whatever. Like, there's not much, but it's just that it hasn't been left the way it was before they so there's pieces of wood and stuff on the wharf. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll go to 6, Warden's Activity Report. On May 21st, I was assisted at all the meetings are essentially by video conference, but my report's in French again, so I got to do some translation. Then I had a meeting of the nomination committee to appoint the new president of University Saint Anne. That was on May 21st. On May 26th, I had another meeting by video conference of the board of directors of the University Saint Anne. On June 2nd, I had another meeting by video conference of the audit committee of the CDNA. June 4th, another meeting by video conference of the board of directors of the CDNA with the auditor. June 4th, a special meeting of the Council of Governors at the university. Essentially, that was to make a motion to appoint Alistair to a third 5-year term as president. On the 8th of June, I assisted at the flag raising ceremony here at the municipal office to officially open Pride Week. The 9th of June, I assisted at the AGM of the CDNA. On the 9th again, at a video conference meeting of the board of directors of the CDNA. And at that evening, June 9th, an interview with Radio Canada to speak about Pride Week. And June 16th, which was last night, the AGM of the Armouth Hospital Foundation. So I went pretty quick, but if you have any questions, I can answer some.
Mr. Warren?
Yeah.
So for the Pride Week for the flag raising,
Yeah.
I couldn't attend because I was working, but I think, was there any other councillors? Were you the only one there? And was there?
No, I was the only one there. Essentially, it was a virtual flag raising. So
Okay.
there was 3 participants, myself, Tristan McAlpine, who gave a short speech, and Amy. But there was a few of the members of the committee, but there was essentially no public or no council.
Okay, so because I was just so they wouldn't think that we didn't want to participate. I was just wondering if why there was no councillor. So yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you.
No, we wanted to respect the social distancing.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? 7, official statements from members of council. Are there any official statements? Did I see Brian? I'll say come.
Yeah, I have a couple of announcements. First, I would like to wish Alan and Germaine Maya from Metegan Station a happy anniversary. On May 19th, they celebrated their 47th wedding anniversary. So I was able to bring them a certificate of congratulations last week. Thank you, Ashley, for creating the certificates. Also, I'd like to wish Bernice Sonia from Soniaville a happy birthday. Bernice celebrated her 90th birthday on June 2nd. A certificate was also prepared for Bernice as well.
Thank you. Any other presentation?
I would have just a short, just something that I just thought of now. I just want to congratulate Tina on her new position at the villa. I don't know exactly when she starts, but anyway, just to
July 1st.
Want to congratulate her at the villa.
Any other presentation? We'll go to correspondence 8.1. Nicholas Giacomantonio, if I can say it, President, Cardiac Cycling Society of Nova Scotia.
The COVID-19 pandemic has reminded us this truth. Health is our first wealth. When we speak to comorbidities, we are usually talking about poor health status. Much of that may be unavoidable, but there is a lot that we as individuals can do, must do, to improve our own health. That is the message of the Heartland Tour has promoted since 2007. In 2020, our efforts have shifted from large public gatherings to a single province-wide virtual event. We encourage all Nova Scotians to be physically active, starting with the most basic advice: sit less, move more. Our work connects well with the policy, Let's Get Moving Nova Scotia. Nova Scotians must get and keep moving. Now more clearly than ever, we see the threat to the sustainability of our healthcare system. Thus, we challenge Nova Scotians to be physically active for at least 150 minutes a week for each of the 3 weeks between July 11th and 31st. Any physical activity, anytime, any place. Research shows habits can form in 21 days. We offer free online registration and a t-shirt. Our website provides resources, including a logbook to track activity. When the tour ends, we'll have a draw for prizes. Every challenge presents opportunity. The virtual tour enables our most active county challenge. We will declare the county with the highest rate of participation in the tour as the most active in the province. The winner will be awarded a cash donation toward a recreational trail project. We know the value of active living infrastructure. Municipal leaders are encouraged to set the example, register for the tour, and accept our challenge like our good friend Albert D'Entremont has done for many years. Get your recreation departments behind the challenge. Reactivate your county as we work to reactivate the province. We always welcome municipal recreation staff to work with our local organizing groups. The more than 100 volunteers who are the core of the Heartland Tour challenge you and your county to get the blazes moving and be well. Join us in reactivating our province. We will bounce forward, and as Mayor Dix would say, we will flourish. Sincerely, Nicholas Giacomentonio, President, Heartland Tour.
So just for information, I did register, so I'd encourage the other councillors that might have an interest in it to register. Councillor, come up.
Yeah, I also registered and accepted the challenge gladly. I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, the pressure is on. So we'll go to 8.2, le Grand Réveil acadien, Louisiane Acadie.
Bonjour à tous. Le conseil d'administration de Louisiane Acadie a pris la décision de repousser son événement rassembleur, le Grand Réveil acadien, à l'année prochaine. Il aura donc lieu du 2 au 10 octobre 2021 dans le sud de la Louisiane. L'annonce officielle sortira bientôt, mais le CA tenait à vous en informer rapidement. La planification se poursuit pareil et on explore la possibilité d'offrir quelques éléments de programmation virtuelle d'ici le Grand Réveil acadien. Nous communiquerons donc avec vous dans les mois à venir pour savoir s'il y a d'autres possibilités de collaboration. Entre-temps, vous pouvez toujours nous suivre sur Facebook ou visiter notre site internet à l'adresse www.louisianeacadie.com pour toutes nos nouvelles. Ce n'est que partie remise et nous souhaitons vous compter parmi nos partenaires et participants en 2021. Louisiane Acadie.
Well, you remember we had a letter previously that asked that the delegation participate, and we had, because of the elections, we had decided to refer it to the Congrès Mondial. So basically now that it's pushed back to 2021, the new council will explore that, I imagine. Any questions? 8.3, Tom Smith, Executive Director, Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia.
It is an unfortunate reality that fish farming has been the subject of sustained misinformation campaigns in recent months. What makes it disturbing is that fish farming supports thousands of essential jobs in rural communities across Atlantic Canada, jobs that have become even more precious during these difficult economic times. For more than 40 years, Nova Scotians have supported marine fish farming and recognize that it can coexist with other fisheries on working waterfronts. There are categories of misinformation that repeatedly pop up. Fish farming has impacted lobster stocks. Fish farming negatively impacts tourism. Fish farming degrades the environment. All fish farming should be moved to land because it would be environmentally safer. These are all false. The Collin Fair Protein Index, which ranks global protein producers on environmental, social, and governance issues against the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, ranks salmon aquaculture as the top for sustainability. Fish and shellfish farmed in the ocean allow species to be raised in their natural environment. They are a top food choice for those who want a healthy option while reducing their environmental impact. The State of Salmon Farming Salmon Aquaculture Technologies report released in February, commissioned by Fisheries and Oceans Canada for BC, highlights Canadian and global technological advancements in 4 emerging salmon farming production systems, with the potential to be part of Nova Scotia's future as well. These include hybrids or involving a mix of land and marine-based systems, land-based recirculating aquaculture systems, floating in ocean closed containment systems, and finally offshore open pen production systems. All of these aquaculture technologies are at various stages of development, and the aquaculture industry continues to actively participate in their development and testing. One hybrid system in particular, which involves extending the amount of time young fish spend in land-based hatcheries before being moved to ocean pens, is something the aquaculture industry is actively pursuing. COVID-19 has shown us the importance of local food production and the essential role aquaculture plays. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations believes aquaculture will play an important role in addressing food security, climate change, and ocean sustainability. All forms of Nova Scotian aquaculture are based on science, follow best practices, are regulated by governments, maintain a focus on responsible food production, create jobs in coastal communities, and keep the carbon footprint of food production low. The facts are clear. Nova Scotia marine fish farming is one of the most sustainable ways to grow protein in the world. Tom Smith, Executive Director, Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Cummill?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what's the intention of the association sending this correspondence? Are they looking for support? Is it just an FYI, or are they're not making a request for anything? Or they're just sharing that they support fish farming?
Yeah, the letter was, usually sometimes we get letters that are just blasted to everybody, and we don't always put those in correspondence, but this one was specifically sent to me and asked that it be shared with the councillors and brought, so we felt maybe we should read it. I think it's more of a information letter than anything else.
Thank you.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
A question. So is right now the name of the company eludes me. The company that presented to us a few months ago.
Cermak.
Yes. Is it a fact that that they chose not to pursue this area?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's too bad.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Go to 8.4, Laurie Curry, Chief Financial Officer, Housing Nova Scotia.
Dear Mr. Sear, Housing Nova Scotia prides itself in providing safe, affordable homes for more than 17,600 Nova Scotians who live in one of our over 11,000 public housing units. Through our 5 regional housing authorities, we invest more than $140 million each year to operate and maintain our municipal public housing stock. Municipalities are key partners as they contribute to the delivery of the program by funding a percentage of the housing authority's net operating losses in accordance with joint operating agreements. The Municipality of the District of Clare's share for the public housing net operating losses for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2020 is $41,439.66. This municipal contribution helps offset operating costs, which include property taxes, and major maintenance investments that are necessary to preserve and upgrade our public housing portfolio. In response to recent comments we have received from municipal units requesting greater insight into the net operating loss share billings, we would like to take this opportunity to inform you of your municipal unit's projected NOL share billings for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2021. We are projecting that your municipal unit's share billing will be between the following range for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2021. $43,394 to $47,842. Please note that while the projection is Housing Nova Scotia's best estimate of your municipal units' share of NOL billings at this point in time, it is a projected range that is subject to change as the fiscal year unfolds. We want to thank you for your important contribution to help meet the housing needs of your residents. Should you wish to receive more detailed information regarding your municipal unit's 2019-20 NOL share billing or projected NOL share billing, please contact John Campbell, Housing Director, Western Regional Housing Authority. Sincerely, Laurie Curry, Chief Financial Officer, Housing Nova Scotia. If I may, just as a reminder to Council, budgeting for this amount is something that we and other municipalities have struggled with because we only receive this number usually in late June, sometimes even later, whereas most municipalities pass their budget in April or May. In our case, for this year's operational budget, we had projected our share of the billings to be roughly $38,000, which was essentially a weighted average of the past 5 years. So now we know that we've under budgeted by over $3,000, which we're fine. We can recoup within our budget. We're seeing increases, in speaking to my colleagues across the province, as well as to the AMA Nova Scotia, we're seeing increases across the board throughout the province. Some municipal units, the increase has been substantial. In some cases, I've noticed it's almost doubled. So it seems to be a trend not only for this year, but it appears that in the years coming, this amount will keep increasing.
Any questions or comments? No, we'll go to 9, Chief Administrative Officer's report.
Thank you. Just a quick highlight of the few projects we have ongoing. Just touching base on rural internet. The first 3 phases of the project are advancing as per schedule. As a reminder, these phases include Route 1 from the Cultural Hub in Comoville to St. Bernard, all of New Edinburgh, and the 340 from St. Bernard up to Hassett. A second application has been submitted for funding consideration to both the CRTC and to Develop Nova Scotia. This application is smaller in scope and focuses uniquely or solely on extending the proposed fiber network the entire length of Highway 340 from Hassett to the Yarmouth County line. And it does include some side roads along the way. Community interest for the project remains strong, and we've seen a substantial increase in inquiries over the past 2 weeks. People inquiring as to whether or not they will be covered when the network passes their way, also inquiring as to timelines. So the comments to date have been very positive, but it's obvious people are eager to get onto this fiber. The Grand Fondo, as you know, has been cancelled in light of the circumstances surrounding COVID-19, and that was done basically for the safety of all those involved, both participants, volunteers. Participants have been fully refunded, so this represents roughly $19,000, which we've refunded. And right now, planning for 2020-2021 will commence in the fall with the intention of coming back stronger than ever. The Tourism, Public Spaces and Development and Improvement Project is progressing. The consultants are reviewing best practices from other locations. Public consultations, which we had originally scheduled for mid-April, have been postponed until later this summer. We as of now, still don't have a date. We'll see how the situation unfolds. The consultants are drafting preliminary concepts and sketches of proposed recommendations for each site, and these should be ready by the end of next week, and will include a written list of recommendations that they're considering, as well as some flow diagrams of the sites. These concepts will be used for discussion purposes during the stakeholder meetings, and that also includes a meeting with council. Best practices in park interpretation and municipal signage from other locations are also being explored as part of this project. Possible themes include regional history, geology, flora, fauna, shipbuilding, fishing, and rum running. Finally, discussions with RAD architects regarding the CVC or the Clare Veterans Center are ongoing. The proposed design is being refined and costed out, and we should have something for council at the committee of the whole meeting in July. The Hemlock Community Center project is complete, except for the for 2 doors that are back ordered, so we're waiting for them to arrive. The project wrapped up on time and actually under budget. So whereas we do have funds left over under the New Horizons program, we're looking at a few additional items, including work on the field in the back of the center, which does need to be does need some work, as well as some outstanding fire code requirements that we need to address. The Welcoming Communities project, as you know, the municipality has submitted its 3-year action plan to IRCC, or Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada. It has IRCC has signaled that the project will be delayed for COVID. I mentioned this last month as well. But again, all indications suggest that the project will still move forward with a reduced time frame, but the approved contributions of 232,000 per year for 3 years will remain unchanged. The RIFNE, or Réseau d'Immigration Francophone Nouvelle-Écosse, as per our discussions today, have effectively removed themselves from the management of this project. I think basically they'll play more of a resource role. So in our discussions today, I suggested that that the municipality take ownership of this project, with council's permission, of course. The Société Acadienne, which was a partner in this project, will remain a partner as well. So all parties agreed. The revised project management structure, the idea behind that was that this project would be better served if it was managed locally, essentially by the community for the community. And we do have the resources and the capacity in-house to manage this project. So over the next 2 weeks, we will be making the necessary revisions to the action plan and the budget to reflect the new management structure. The hope was that we could sign it with the IRCC by the end of the month. Certainly we'll look to meet that date, although that date itself wasn't confirmed by IRCC. It was simply a goal that was set. To date, only 2 of the 14 chosen communities nationwide have signed with IRCC. So we're seeing project delays on this file across the country. It's not exclusive to Nova Scotia or to Clare. Fierté Clare Pride. So again, following the success of the flag pride raising ceremony in May 2019, members of La Société Acadienne, Université Sainte-Anne, and the Municipality of Clare formed a committee to organize the first ever Pride Week in Clare. Diane Titus and Amy Paradis represented the municipality on this committee. The municipality held a pride raising ceremony at the Clare Community Flagpole on the evening of June 8th, as the warden mentioned, to kick off Pride Week. We issued a press release shortly thereafter, which was widely shared on social media. By hosting a virtual event, which was our first time doing so, the activities of Fierté Clare Pride really expanded beyond our community. Leading up to and during the event, Clare Pride was featured on Eastlink In Focus television program, CBC Radio, Radio Canada, both radio and television, Radio CIFA, and the Courrier de la Nouvelle-Écosse. The event garnered significant attention online. To date, close to 500 people are following Fierté Clare Pride's Facebook page, including key members of the community, school representatives, journalists, activists, and people of all ages in Clare and beyond. Other LGBTQ2 groups from across the country, both rural and urban, have also shown key interest in the week's activities. So by all accounts, the event was a success and reflected well in our community. So special congratulations to the organizing committee, and special thanks to Leon Titus and Amy Paradis on a job well done. The breakwater in Villa-Vascove, the discussions are underway. We've reached out and been in communications with DFO, DNR, and Transport Canada regarding the necessary permits. As I mentioned during our last meeting, the total project cost for the Northern Wharf barrier alone is $431,584. So this is not including the lighthouse, the benches, or the damage to the Southern Wharf. Of this amount, our insurance is covering $325,776, leaving a balance outstanding of $105,808, which is the damage to the interior portion of the breakwater, which was deemed to be pre-existing. So a funding application has been submitted to the province of Nova Scotia under the Nova Scotia Flood Risk Infrastructure Investment Program for $52,904, or 50% of that $105,000. As per the program criteria, the municipality must match the contribution of $52,904. And as I mentioned previously, the insurance will also be covering 100% of the cost to repair the lighthouse, the Southern Wharf, as well as replace the benches. The provision of French language services by the municipality. The application for funding assistance has been submitted to the Office of Acadian Affairs and La Francophonie under the Canada-Nova Scotia Agreement on French Language Services. The total amount of the application is $139,704, of which 50%, or $69,852, is being requested. Expense items focus on communication, simultaneous translation of documents, advertising and marketing, and signage. Over the past 2 years, the municipality has received $40,000 per year from the Office of Acadian Affairs. In terms of a brief financial overview, as of May 31st, 2020, the municipality had recorded $7,971,265 in revenues versus $1,675,793 in expenses, for a surplus of $6.3 million. As of May 31st, 2020, the municipality had a balance of $1.4 million in its operating fund, $54,000 in its capital fund, and a total reserve balance of just over $5.7 million. This $5.7 million can be broken down as follows. In our operating reserve, $856,253. In our capital reserve, $3,450,904. In our landfill closure reserve, $329,563. And finally, in our gas tax reserve of $1,112,204. In terms of our cash flow, from April 1st to June 15th, the municipality has collected just over $2.75 million in revenue. Of this amount, 2.16 is in the form of municipal tax payments. So at the same time last year, the municipality had collected 2.8 in tax payments. So we are less than last year in terms of tax payments. However, we are tracking well given the circumstances. One of the metrics that we were following was the revenue generated from our tipping fees, especially given that our transfer station was closed essentially the entire month of April. So as of June 15th, we've recorded a total of $43,408 in tipping fees. At the same time last year, tipping fees totaled $49,243. So we had no tipping fees in April. Once we reopened the transfer station, it's been quite busy since, so we are slowly catching up. So we expect that if the trend continues, that will be at par with last year within a month or two. That's my report.
Any questions? Don't say the vote. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Last year, the family that we greeted, the refugee family that had moved to Metagan River, are they still here or are they gone?
No, they've moved. They've moved from the region. Yes.
Oh,
One of the members, I believe, has stayed. I'm not sure if he's still around or not, but I believe the remainder of the family has moved.
okay. Do we know where they went, or is that not a public knowledge?
I believe they moved to Ontario somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where.
Okay. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll go to 10 committee reports, 10.1 building permits. Councillor Hill.
Yes, as of May 31st, 2019, we had 61 permits issued for a construction value of $3,217,000. And as of May 31st, 2020, we had 54 permits issued with total value of construction of $3,124,000. So it was quite a bit behind, but now it's virtually caught up to last year. So that's good.
Mhm.
Good news. Any questions or comments? Well, we'll go to 10.2 waste check.
Yes, I attended the waste check meeting on June 8th. Basically, just a quick summary. The meeting started with the members of the board wishing to extend a thank you to the waste collectors, to the environmental depots, to the staff of the transfer station and the landfills for their work during these during COVID. So I believe a letter will be issued, or letters will be issued from the board at waste check. There was discussion about coordinating our waste collection bylaws against amongst the municipal units. Most of the municipal units in Region 7, their bylaw is derived from a template that waste check had put together. There's some of them tailored certain clauses to better suit their needs or their residents. There was discussion just to start a discussion as to how we go about implementing our bylaws, and are we consistent from one municipality to the next, given that the garbage that's collected within our municipal units, for example, the green bins, the organics, it does go to a regional facility. So there was discussion about possibly looking at that moving forward. In terms of the regional chairs update, Warden Leland Anthony, who is the regional chair for District 7, his term is up on June 23rd, but it was agreed that waste check would wait to replace Mr. Anthony until after the municipal elections in October. The notion of extended producer responsibility was also on the agenda. Unfortunately, there is no news on that file. It was flagged earlier, as you may recall, as a priority of the NSFM. But they've received no news from either the NSFM or the province, other than with everything going on, understandably, EPR is not the focus at this time. The draft 2020-2021 operating budget was approved. The total budget for waste check for this fiscal is $570,732. The municipality of Clare's contribution to that amount is $23,364. So of the 6 municipalities, other than the municipality of Yarmouth, Clare is the one who pays the most. The large part of the lion's share of that operating budget is from the province and is from a variety of funding programs. There was also discussion around the variance letter, or the request for a variance letter to the Minister of Environment, the Honourable Gordon Wilson. As we discussed a few weeks back, the request was refused at this time because Scotia Recycling is still accepting our blue bags. Right now, Scotia Recycling, we have been in contact, and they continue to operate 24/7, and and they are continuing to social distance, so they feel they can continue operating at this time. You may recall the Colchester County was granted permission because their facility no longer accepted blue bags, so they received a variance letter for 600 tons of recyclables. And finally, the Waste Check AGM, that also it was scheduled for later this summer. That the decision was made to put that off until after the municipal election in October. So that's just a quick summary of the Waste Check meeting of June 8th.
Any questions? If not, we'll go to 10 new business. 11.1 motion to approve the 5-year capital investment plan.
Yes, the 5-year capital investment plan, as we discussed at the committee of the whole meeting 2 weeks ago, is a listing of our planned capital projects for the next 5 years. It's a document that we are required to submit annually to the province, update and submit annually to the province by September 1st. So basically, the contents of this document are what we foresee in terms of capital projects. Obviously, 5 years out is a long time to predict. So the fact that a project isn't included in this document doesn't preclude the municipality from pursuing it if an opportunity presents itself. So again, this is a document that we submit to the province to give them a sense of, especially for our use of gas tax, give them a sense of what projects we have planned in the coming years. However, like I said, we aren't necessarily tied to this project, to this plan. If we choose to amend it 1 year in a year's time or year over year, we're certainly allowed to do so. So again, this is just a planning document to give the province a sense of where we see our investments in the next 5 years.
So any questions or comments? A motion is in order. If somebody is prepared to make a motion.
I can make the motion.
Councillor Potier?
Je propose que la municipalité du district de Clare approuve le plan d'investissement en capital sur 5 ans de la municipalité 2020 à 2024 tel que présenté.
Is there a second or for the motion?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Devo. Any discussion on the motion? We've already discussed the plan quite a bit at the committee of council, so I don't imagine there'll be much discussion. We're ready for the question?
Question?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Contrary, nay. Motion carried. 11.2, motion to send a letter, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal and Minister of Environment. I believe that was the Deputy Warden who had brought that up at the last Committee of Council. So, I don't know if you want to speak to it a bit before we go to the motion.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Is there somebody prepared to make the motion? That Deputy Tusa?
I'll make it, yeah. I move that the municipality of the District of Clare send a letter to the Honorable Lloyd Hines, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, and the Honorable Gordon Wilson, Minister of Environment, requesting the installation of no littering signs in Clare.
Is there a second for the motion?
I'll
I'll
second it.
second that.
All right, seconded by Councillor Tebow. Any discussion or debate on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Contrary, nay. Motion carried. 11.3, motion to enter into a contract for e-voting services for the 2020 municipal elections.
Yes, with the municipal elections coming up in October, the plan for Clare is to, unless we change direction, is to offer both an electronic voting option as well as a paper ballot. For those municipalities throughout the province wishing to offer e-voting as an alternative to residents, what's been decided, and what was the same thing occurred in 2016 during the last election, is that the procurement process to identify a service provider would basically be taken care of by HRM, by the Halifax Regional Municipality. It would be negotiated. They would tender issue a tender, choose the preferred supplier or service provider, negotiate the terms of the agreement, and then those terms would be extended to all municipalities throughout Nova Scotia. So basically, it takes they would take care of the heavy lifting, essentially, removes the burden from other municipal units to negotiate their own contracts. So that being said, the chosen provider for this year is Untitled Systems Inc. The pricing that they've provided to us is $2.45 per elector, which equates to a total contract cost of $16,256, which is consistent with what we paid in 2016. Intellivote Systems is not new to the municipality in terms of the service provider. In 2016, it was the same company. They were operating under a different name at the time, I believe, but it is essentially the same company that had undergone a name change. So that being said, it's the recommendation of a returning officer and myself that we enter into an e-voting contract with Intellivote Systems for the amount of $16,256 plus HST.
So is there a mover for the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Councillor Hill.
I move that the municipality of the District of Clare accept the submission from IntelliVote Systems Incorporated to provide e-voting services for the 2020 municipal and school board election for the municipality of the District of Clare at a cost of $2.45 per elector for a total contract cost of $16,256 plus HST.
Second,
I can second that.
seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, is there still a school board election? There's no school board.
CSAP has a school board.
CSAP, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Contrary,
Aye.
nay. Motion carried. 11.4, motion to approve funding track and field facility, University St. Anne. Did you want to?
I can speak to that briefly. University, as you know,
Actually, I should have declared a conflict there.
Oh,
So
let's
now,
go.
I forgot about declaring a conflict for that motion. So if you want to take that over, I'm going to leave the room.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Stefan, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'll speak to it briefly. As you recall during our last discussions, St. Anne's University is interesting and is working on pursuing a track and field facility for the municipality, but to be located on their campus in Church Point. The total project cost is $3.5 million, and they're looking for funding from both the federal and provincial government, as well as the community. The community portion of the funding formula, as required by the Invest in Canada Infrastructure Program, is 27%, meaning that they have to come up with 20% of $3.5 million. Or $945,000. So at the time, St. Anne's was not considered an eligible applicant, and the municipality was entertaining the idea of pursuing that project with itself as the applicant. I'm told now that the criteria has changed and St. Anne's is considered eligible, so that simplifies the project application process. The discussion at the time at council was what is an amount that we want to contribute, and the amount that was agreed to by council was a contribution of $400,000 or over 4 years, so basically $100,000 per year over 4 years. The rationale for that agreement or for that contribution was essentially that St. Anne's offers a lot of recreational infrastructure to the municipality at no cost, which is of great benefit to us. So by that I mean specifically the pool and the rink, as well as the gym and the other assets at the sporting complex on the campus in Church Point. So that was the driving factor, I would say, based on the comments I received from council for the rationale behind that contribution. So in order to formalize that, we would need an official motion from council to approve that amount. My understanding in speaking to St. Anne's is that they would like to have that confirmed by the end of no later than the end of this month, because I believe they are moving forward with their application. So that being said,
Okay, so
from council.
Being said, everybody read the motion. Is there a mover?
I can make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Potier.
I move that the municipality of the District of Clare approve funding for the proposed track and field facility at Université Saint-Anne in the amount of $400,000, and that these funds be taken from municipality's operating reserve.
Is there any discussion? Not
So,
there a seconder?
I'd like to second that,
Okay.
but before I do, I'd like to just, so should it mention anywhere that it's going to be 100,000 for 4 years, or does it make any difference?
That'll be reflected in the minutes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I would like to second that.
Okay, seconded by Carl. All in motion by saying aye.
All right.
Motion nay.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
So we can have back Mr. Warren to come back in.
So just for the record, I'm vice president of the Council of Governors of the university, so it was to record in the minutes that I declared a conflict. 11.5 Bienvenue à Clare banner program.
Yeah, this is just for council's information more than anything else. As you know, leading up to the Festival Acadiens each year, we do put the Bienvenue à Clare banners in on the poles throughout the municipality. That usually it's usually just under 200 banners. Last year we put 191 total banners at a cost of $10 each. So we have roughly $2,000 budgeted for banners as an expense, because we have to contract out for someone to actually put them in the polls. We usually recoup those dollars through private sector sponsorships, that a private sector business would sponsor a banner. However, this year, with everything going on with COVID and with the obviously the financial hardships for a number of businesses throughout the municipality, I was approached by Larry Peach, our tourist manager, and Pam Douce, our director of community development, with the idea of putting up the banners, obviously, as a source of community pride, something positive in the community as well. Make aesthetically it's more attractive, more appealing. But rather than approach the businesses who normally sponsor one of these banners, that the municipality absorb the cost. We do have the ability to do that within the community development. It would be a one-time only thing that we would do for this year, given the circumstances, because we didn't feel it was appropriate at this time to be approaching businesses for sponsorship for this. However, we didn't want to go out we didn't want to not put them in the polls because again, I think they do look good. It is a sense of community pride, and we will be welcoming tourists in the municipality this summer. I'm expecting just not necessarily from outside of Atlantic Canada or out of country, but more so from within the province. So we still want to put our best foot forward, and the banners are seen as a small means of doing that. So just wanted to mention to council that our plan is to go ahead with those banners, but that we won't be approaching private sector. This year will be a one-off where we'll absorb that cost ourselves.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Deville?
Thank you. I agree 100%. I've noticed the last few weeks on the news, other municipalities have put on their polls like certain banners and flowers and stuff, and I agree that we do have to put those, guaranteed. It looks nice, and I agree with it 100%.
Councillor Tebow?
Yeah, I also agree with that. I think it's a very good idea for a minimum cost. I think it should be done.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll go to 12, closed session. We have 2 items in closed session, 12.1, sale of municipal property, Eco Park, and 12.2, human resources. So that's the 2 items we're going to discuss in camera. So motion is in order. Please.
I move it to go in camera.
Moved by Deputy Warden Dusa and seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. So good night. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Good night.